So the 30 seconds which you show as an ad it has to be perfect. Each second matters.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's where a lot of people who are large content makers, people who work in feature or whatever, find it extremely difficult. Like, how the hell do you deliver this message? And nowadays, by the way, that 30 has become 20. So it's even more challenging. So as you're talking, and then there's, there's something people are not liking and booing. That feeds back into your advertising experience and says, what makes people laugh? What makes people cry? What makes
timing.
people, the emotion, the timing, everything. That live learning from stand-up helps me hugely back in advertising. So when I'm scripting, I know what will elicit a laughter. I know what people will remember.
So what goes into creating an entire ad film or a small feature? How does it work?
Somebody once told me when I joined advertising, said it's the most fun you can have with your doing self. Stand-up can be cruel. It can be really tough in terms of, making sure that your jokes are up there and you're able to make people laugh. Otherwise, people can really toss you out very easily. Today you are slapped, tomorrow you have to come back 10 times stronger. Today your script is torn and thrown into the bin, tomorrow you have to come back 3 times stronger. And that will happen in your life. So if you're the kind who's like, holding your head, I can't take this, I can't take failure, this is not the industry. Be very clear. Who's over there?
Namaskaram. Somebody super from the advertising industry, lot of talent. So I'm going to ask him, who is Rohit Malkani?
I ask myself that question sometimes.
Who are my types?
Yeah, who am I? I mean, what am I doing here? A very existential question. So yes, I'm an advertising person. I'd love to believe that. Been in the industry for 25 years, but also theatre lover, thespian, actor, one-time RJ, stand-up comedian. So there's many facets. I guess I wear several hats. Yeah.
You started at 13 years with a role in an Edward 3. That's what I know of, right?
Yeah.
And what is it that gets you started on being a theatre actor still now, and you're extremely relevant on it? You keep trying, you're doing new things, and still a working professional.
So theatre is something that I keep running away to, because if I was in advertising morning, noon and night, I would just, I think my creative soul somewhere would just get sucked out. So, like you said, I've been acting since the age of 13. Actually, I've been acting long before that, but my first public appearance was at the age of 13.
What was the role like?
It was in a Shakespeare play called Richard III. And there was a role for a small, young boy, back in the day. And the late gentleman who was directing the play, Shumit Roy, who later became a good family friend, and he heard of me through somebody, and my mother took me for the audition, and I auditioned, and they loved it, and the next thing I knew, I was in the play. Because always as a kid, I guess I was always the kind who was being made to perform the har party pe,
Yeah,
I used to keep telling my parents, after every party you'd send around a topi or some log paise dete the.
You really did that?
No, joking. But from the time I've been a little kid, I guess my mother was an amazing woman in terms of recognizing talent and said, ye bacha mein kuch hai, let's push him and see what he can do and get. And that's how it began. And thereafter, I never looked back on theatre.
Parents were very encouraging in what you did.
Both of them were. And back in the day when, honestly, there was no internet, there weren't the kind of opportunities that there are today. But wherever we could, they would always push me to do something more.
So you had the gift of the gab, you had the humor from
always.
Age 13, and that's what made you do so many different
probably
things.
Age 4 actually, Kamlaksh. But 13 is, like I said, when I first, started acting. But I guess, even earlier than that.
But what does it still remain in back of your mind? Ki this is how you did, and you kept improvising.
Yeah.
Because theater is all about improvising also at times. So you still use certain methods. Is there any particular method you work on?
Absolutely. So I was blessed. So after I did my first appearance, and then it was fantastic, came out very well, and then my mother was always how do we encourage this boy further, and where do we take him to? I grew up in Calcutta, where not necessarily the largest of opportunities you had, not
But
just
it's always place of culture and
fantastic
theater.
culturally, absolutely. But in terms of training and development, there weren't too many people. But there was a gentleman called Godrej engineer, he a Parsi gentleman, and he used to send students up for Trinity College speech and drama exams.
Okay.
So my mother took me to him,
Hmm.
and she said, would you take this boy under? And he said, absolutely. And I started doing these Trinity College speech and drama exams, and that honed my craft, because he was an amazing teacher. From the age of 14 for several years, I think right up till I finished school, I was under his tutelage. Then he moved to Australia, but from 14 to maybe 18, I would go regularly to him for classes, and he really taught me much more of craft and skill, and the discipline of theatre began with him.
Mm-hmm.
And later, of course, the woman who I regard as my theatre guru was a lady called Phyllis Bose. She's Welsh and married to a Bengali gentleman in Calcutta. And she
was a theatre personality.
She was a theatre personality, very well known in her own right. Acted in films, serials, etc., etc. No more, sadly. But she was my, in many ways, the turning point in my life, because she was an amazing woman, and I did 6 plays under her tutelage, and she really taught me a lot of what I am today.
This all happened in Kolkata.
This all happened in Calcutta. But ironically, later, many years later, Phyllis herself moved to Bangalore, where she later died. But when she moved to Bangalore, I was in Bangalore. I continued. We kind of renewed that relationship and did 2-3 plays in Bangalore. And that's always been, whichever city I've been in, Calcutta, Bangalore, Delhi, Bombay, I've always managed to find an amazing group of like-minded theatre people.
You are into advertising presently, and it's a very demanding job.
Yeah.
How do you balance it out when it comes to theatre and Rohit, the stand-up comedian? Because how did you kind of hone that skill of being a stand-up comedian also?
So this was, so I'll answer it in 2 parts. One is, of course, like you said, how do you manage to balance it? I ask myself sometimes, funnily, just the other day, there's a director who asked me the same question: how the hell are you, managing both these things? So I said, it's very simple. When you have something that you're really passionate about, you will take the time out to do it. Whether you're a runner, marathon runner, whether you who, is a choreographer and has been, you will find time to do that one thing that really you're passionate about. It's not about the money.
That's across ages. You need to be super passionate about what you do.
Absolutely. Kuch to hona chahiye besides your regular, 9-to-5 job.
Hmm.
Because when I get the kind of energies and the positive energies which I get from my passion, that feeds back into my work.
Hmm.
If day and night you're going to just be stuck where you are, then your mind also is limited. What theatre does for me is, when I actually joined Saatchi, Anil Nair, who was then the boss, interviewed me, and I said, look, I have one condition. Once a year, I will do a production. I will go at 5 o'clock in the evening. I will come back to office at 9 at night, or I'll go home and work from home. But I need those 4 hours. I need those 4-5 hours, because that, with like-minded people, that will feed back. And he was such a lovely guy. He just said, don't worry about it. Just do it. And it's just a question of 40 days, rehearsal, 30-40 days. Just do it. I'm really happy for you. Do something that you love. And I continue that even till today. I do that. I come back. At times it's killing. I come back and do it. It's exhausting doing, but I managed to balance both. And luckily, when the shows actually happen, they're always on a weekend. So, that's how the balance is maintained.
So, but it's in the same circle. You are the chief creative officer. Is that the right word?
That's right.
So, you are the chief creative officer of this Saatchi and Saatchi. So, this all kind of puts you into the right frame, right? Also, because it's all about creativity,
Yes.
right? From theatre,
Yes.
stand-up, and all the good things you do. So it helps you, right? In whatever.
Absolutely. They feed off each other because, and this is where I'll come to the second part of your question, which is about stand-up and how that evolved. Stand-up is essentially, and the kind of stand-up that I love to do is observational comedy, right?
Okay.
It's observational comedy. So I'm looking at somebody and I'm thinking, "Arey, ye to material hai, ye to content hai." Because, I can be sitting in a restaurant, I can be sitting in a bus, and I'm observing people and how funny that person is with some particular nuance, something that he said or something that he's done, and say, "Arey, this is content." I can, and that's exactly what advertising is about. At the end of the day, you're selling a product to a consumer, and you're observing life as it is and playing that back in the context of a brand to a consumer. So if you're the kind who's not observing, you're dead, both in advertising or stand-up.
So the 30 seconds which you show as an ad it has to be perfect. Each second matters.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's where a lot of people who are large content makers, people who work in feature or sales, whatever, find it extremely difficult. Like, how the hell do you deliver this message? And nowadays, by the way, that 30 has become 20. So it's even more challenging. So, a lot of that happens all the time with us. We're being told that you have to, ideally, if it's a 30-second film, ad film, I need to finish the audio part of it, the spoken part of it, in about 20 to 23 seconds, actually. Because I need to leave 7-8 seconds for a pause, a look, breathing, looking up. वो थोड़ा सा gap चाहिए. So, in a 30-second, actually, the content is 22.
Achha.
So it's even tougher.
So you're part of the editing process also when this
Yes, very much so.
So seeing that whatever you shoot, then you have to minimize it to come to all those points where the message is given to the people.
Yeah. So a lot of that happens before the film is even shot. You time a script, you sit with the director, figure out that, okay, where can we cut, where can we economize so that, we can give more time to the actors to, play an expression, whatever. And then in the editing part of it, normally the director does the first cut of the edit. Then you sit with him and say, hey, maybe this is not working. Maybe we'll try and cut from there. Maybe we can give back to this particular gesture or expression, which is very nice. Let's hold it. So that is a process which continues from conceptualizing it to the time you finish the edit.
We're going to consult you for the creative part of our show also.
Done?
Ki expression kaisa hai, Kamlash ka expression
which one am I holding on to? Yeah.
So because I think this is a skill set which you developed over a period of time.
Absolutely.
And I think you being an entertainer, a performer also adds to seeing other people do it.
Correct.
And what is the right thing you have to kind of set on that 30 second to 20 second.
Absolutely. So now, going back to the stand-up point that you made, when you're in a hall, you're sitting there or you're in a space where there are 50, 80, 90, 100 people, whatever, and you're performing, you get an instant sense of why people are laughing and what they're laughing at. Okay.
The cues.
As you're talking, and then there's, there's something which people are not liking and booing. That feeds back into your advertising experience and say, what makes people laugh? What makes people cry? What makes people, the emotion, the timing, the everything. That live learning from stand-up helps me hugely back in advertising. So when I'm scripting, I know what will elicit a laughter. I know what people will remember. And what will be, it's not a savory thing to say. So that is, again, a lot of the stand-up experiences help me build back in advertising.
So Kolkata has been a place from where you learned your skill.
Yes.
It has developed, but it has been a huge influence for you, right? I mean, because I think you still go very often to Kolkata.
I love my city where I was born. I was there till college and I left only after college.
Okay.
I finished my college, La Martiniere, then Xavier's, and then I left college. After college, I left Calcutta. I went to Delhi to do my postgrad, etc. So, it will always hold that very, very special place in my heart. I'm blessed to be able to go back every 2-3 months on work, meet old friends, colleagues, people who are still in Calcutta, and, go back to the city that I love very dearly.
Being behind the camera is what you're doing, right? Through the entire editing and all the process. You've been in front of the camera.
Yes.
A very popular ad I remember seeing with Sir Zakir Hussain. Zakir Hussain ji.
Ji.
The Taj Mahal ad and the Virgin Mobile, and up lately with Yuvraj Singh, the ad which you did, has been a lot of the feathers. I mean, one of the feathers in your cap.
Yeah.
So the Yuvraj Singh ad also, I think it won one of those, the gold, I think the gold.
At Abby's, yes. So this was for Vicks cough drops, and this was at the World Cup last year, Vicks cough drops came to us saying we want to be part of this, although we're not an official sponsor. So we created this anthem, which was finally turned out to be a 90-second piece on digital, and of course there were shorter versions which were ran on TV, and we dragged in Yuvraj Singh as one of the things, who was, as you know, one of the architects of the previous 2011 win, and he was very sweet. He also joined in the effort, and we created this lovely anthem shot in Bombay. The anthem turned out to be amazing. We won a gold for it at Abby's. We won a silver at the Clio Awards in the US. So it was a good run. We've had a wonderful experience with that.
So what is it like in front of the camera? Like, how does it work out? So theater is one way you learn. In front of the camera, you need to look at the smaller points because everything is right on your face.
Yeah.
So what is the kind of skill set you require to do something like that?
So I try and balance it, and I'll answer this with an example. I was not recently, I'd say like a year and a half, 2 years ago, behind the camera with a director called Manoj Tapadia, very great, fantastic director. So two of us he was directing the film. It was an ad film. And at one point of time, Manoj turns and tells me, he said, "Yaar, isse nahi ho raha hai." The actor was. He said, "Tu kar le." So I said, "Tu kar le" means what? We're sitting behind the camera. We're on the set. That guy's come. He said, "Boss, this is not working. Tu kar le." Cut to now, I put on a jacket because the role was supposed to be of a boss or whatever. And I'm in front of camera. So from here, I go there and, Manoj says, "Rohit, tu kar le. You act." And I did it, and this is what happens. A lot of my director friends who become very dear friends know me for the actor that I am, and actually in shoots when we're doing our film tell me, "Why don't you go and tell the actor?" And they're very sweet to be able to be that collaborative. Tu jaake bol de unko, tell them how it's done. So I'll do that, and I love it because performance has always been my thing. So theater is one kind of a thing which you're in a hall and you shut out the audience because you're acting there. You're with your actors, you're on stage. Film, you're performing to a camera. So that's the nuance and the difference that you're talking about.
Yes.
And very often, I think I see a lot of people performing to the camera. And to me, that doesn't work. If you shut out the lens of the camera for 2 minutes and just play like you're playing theater, like you're playing it out, the camera will anyway love you. Right? The camera will anyway romance you. The camera will love you. You don't need to pretend that you're so conscious ki, "Oh, dekh, main camera pe dekh raha hu." You're looking into the lens. No. Be what you are as if you're actually with an audience, with a bunch of people. The camera will automatically romance you.
That's the way to look at it, right?
That's the way
I people who are aspiring actors and all that. Because you've been on both sides of it. In front, behind the camera.
Yeah.
So what goes into creating an entire ad film or a small feature? How does it work?
Okay, so we'll be here for 2 hours more if I do it.
That's okay, you can go on.
We're going to be sitting here
so
for the next 2 hours.
What goes on to develop the campaign? You can keep it like summarize it. Like
I'll try and make it very, very quick.
Because I'll add one more thing. You spoke about that anthem also because you are involved in that anthem. The Yuvraj Singh ad.
Yeah.
So just give us the A, B, C, Z tak छोटे बीच का मिस कर सकते हैं.
I quickly jump from A to Z, but anyway, we'll figure it out. It sounds very complex, and it is to some extent, but it's not rocket science. Clearly not. It's only advertising. Somebody once told me when I joined advertising, said it's the most fun you can have with your clothes on. So I still, believe that. I'm not sure if it's still as much fun, but certainly there's a certain craft which is so exciting and so interesting, and that's what makes me wake up every day and say, "Chal office chalte hain." Only because of this, that there is an excitement to the craft and the making of it. So you always, a client typically, whether it's a project-based client or a retainer client, will come to you saying that a film needs to be made. Okay, very good.
That's where it begins.
It begins. A film needs to be made. That is the thing. Let's say, for example, that is the brief from the client. Now, that brief can come from two things. Either a problem or an opportunity.
A problem could be कि भाई a lot of competition has come in. I want to put out a film that will smash the competition. That's one possible problem. The other is an opportunity.
Yeah.
I have created a new launch of a fantastic new juice, and nobody's done it in the market. It's a fabulous product. मुझे film करना है इस पे. That's an opportunity. An opportunity to do something interesting. So you look at it like that. You look at it from the lens of either it's a problem or an opportunity. Then the client typically gives you a very quick client brief. More often than not, this brief doesn't mean anything. There are some great clients, but there are some clients who say, "Bhai, this is the product, tum log kuch karo." It's as bad as that. But we take that brief internally, discuss it amongst ourselves. We do a little scan of the market. What's working, what's not working in the market, who is the competition, what are they saying, how can we say our message differently.
The study has to be
The
very intense.
strategy has to be very, very watertight. Then we take that strategy to the client and say, this is how we are, even before we get down to scripting. So that the client also buys into that strategy. Aisa nahi hai ki, we just go straight for the script. Never. Very, very rarely do you go straight into a script shootout. It happens, but very rarely. It's far more important that you first agree ki this is the space which we should occupy. And client says, yes, thumbs up, great. Chalo, let's do it. Next, we get into scripting. Script, sometimes one round, if you're really lucky, client would say, boss, hota hai, super. Acha laga. Pehle round mein hota hai. But, again, more often than not, it takes 2, 3, 4 rounds, to hit gold. Then client says, this is it, let's go. That's point of time you call for what we normally do have a director listing. From the directors we've worked with, from the directors. Some of them are, we would like to work with new people also. Fresh minds, fresh people, fresh thought. We call a bunch of directors, normally not more than 4.
You audition them?
You just narrate the scripts to them. It's like a script narration, and then they give what today is called a treatment note.
Treatment?
This is note.
Okay.
So that's how they are seeing the film. After you narrate it to them, you have a nice session, half an hour, 40-minute session with them. Sometimes on the phone, sometimes you meet up in a coffee shop or they come to office. And we narrate the script to them, ki this is how we are looking at, what do you think? And, some directors have actually even told me, ki I don't like it. I don't like the film. And that's okay. It's his prerogative.
So,
mujhe acha nahi laga. Sorry, but I will not quote for this film. So you say, okay, it's happened. Couple of directors are there. And then there are, some directors who say, I love it. I want to do, please mujhe karne do, and all that kind of thing. So then they go away, they write a treatment note. How are they seeing it in terms of how the casting will be for this film? How will the art direction be? How will the lighting be? How will the music be for this film? Brief note, not like a, 100-page thing, but 4, 5, 6, pages or slides in a prep. They're telling you how they're seeing the film. Because nobody will actually give all their cards, play all their cards unless they're given the film. Rightfully so.
Right.
So the director says, "Okay, here is the treatment note."
So do you all take it from all 3 or 4?
Yes.
Their inputs?
All 4 of them give a very base. We don't ask for a very extensive one because it's not fair.
Mm-hmm.
Because a lot of energy and a lot of love goes into that treatment note. So we can't expect them to give all their time without even getting a paisa for it. So they then say, here are the treatment notes. You take it to the client. Obviously, you have your favorite from there. You tell the client ki X is the one I want to go with, and he's like, most cases, 90% cases, clients are also very nice. They said, you have to work with the person eventually. Agar aap bol rahe ho, then great. Let's go with X. And that's it. You appoint the person, you give them their advance. They start working towards what we call a PPM, which is a pre-production meeting. The pre-production meeting typically is from the time you commission a director, 10 days.
Okay.
Ideally. There are times when it's been 3 days and 4 days. Really bad. But I always try and fight with clients to give the director that much time because he has to do his homework. You cannot come down so hard and say, yaar, I need to release it for a festival. I'm very happy for you, but then you should have woken up earlier. Festival to har saal aata hai. So that's the fight I constantly have with clients saying, give the guy his time because he needs to go away, think, reference lighting, reference music, reference kaun sa actor chahiye. Then he does casting also. Sometimes if the film requires 10, 12 people in the cast. It takes a long time to cast, minimum 1 week to cast.
So you go through auditions, multiple auditions.
Then I go through auditions.
Get the actors in place.
But I always work with the director because it's his baby also.
Right.
And you have to accord him that respect.
Mm.
If the first question I always ask, I said, who's your preference? You tell me first for this role. And he'll come up with 2, 3 and say, hey, I think this guy is, so-and-so actor is perfect for this. And we arrive at it together. Sometimes I may suggest, what about this? Because I have a theatre background and a film background. So he'd say, good idea, chalo, isko bhi lete hai. And we audition and take it to the client. The PPM can last anywhere between 1 hour to 6 hours. I've actually had PPMs which last 6 hours.
Okay.
We begin in the morning, take a break for lunch and continue because there's so much to be discussed. Production detail, kya color hoga background ka, what will the props be, what will the costumes be, what kind of music is. Sometimes you get into arguments, client says, I'm not happy, show me some more options, etc. There will be a second PPM if need be. So that also happens. Sometimes there are 2 PPMs. And finally, you agree. This is what we're going to do. These are the actors. This is the way it will look. This is the director, the DOP, director of photography, who will shoot the film, the cinematographer. This is the kind of lighting we will have. Detailed document is made. And that's the end result of the PPM. And that document is then a Bible for the shoot and the shoot day. So then typically you then fix the shoot day 4-5 days after the PPM.
So by then the budget has already been decided?
Budget has been decided way before.
So
when you send the treatment note and when the 4 directors along with the treatment notes will quote for a film. Let's say a director quotes 75 lakhs. Another director says 60 lakhs. Another director says 80 lakhs. They have a thing. Now, very often, and clients I've had the good fortune of having great clients who, even though the budget is more, but because the way the director is seeing the film is so beautiful, he says, don't worry, it's okay, I'll give that extra. Let's say his budget was 70. There are other directors who've quoted 65 and 68 in the budget, but the guy who's quoted 78 is also brilliant in terms of the way he's seeing the film. He's seeing it in a beautiful way. So very often I've had clients who says, doesn't matter, we'll put in that extra 8, but the way he is seeing the film is fantastic. So that also happens. So the budget is decided right then from that point.
And then the shooting commences and you finish the shooting, and what is the next process? And are you all involved in the process after that?
Oh, yeah. So right through, we are there on shoot day. Then typically, the director takes a days or so break, gets into editing. Yeah. So then there is an offline editing where he assembles the shots in an edit, rough edit. It's called an offline. It's a rough edit. We come in, sit with him, look at the rough edit and, hey, no, I don't think this shot is needed. Maybe you can reduce this. There's a lovely partnership to evolve a final edit you're happy with. Sometimes at this rough edit stage only, you will show the client before you actually get into final. So that at that stage itself, there are no changes later. Sometimes you just go straight from there without showing the client. Client says, "Mujhe nahi dekhna hai rough edit. You just show me the final product." It depends. Then you go into what we call online. The online is the high-end machine which now polishes. If there's a CG to be added, computer graphic to be added, gradation and color to be done, all that is done at the online stage. You want to deepen the saturation, you want to make it warmer tones, all that you do on the fancy online machine because it's an expensive machine. So therefore the time is also very expensive to do on an online, which is why you seal your edit, rough edit, then you take that edit to the online and do all your color corrections, grading, yevo. And finally the finished product. Last stage is voices, music. A music director is brought in if you need music. He puts the music to it, slaps it onto the visual, and that's it. The final product is shown to the client.
So the CCO's role is throughout.
Absolutely. Doesn't end till it actually finally goes out to the media house and it's released.
That's amazing.
You can't take your eyes off.
A lot of hard work.
You can't take your eyes off.
How long does it? Because I think once you shot a particular ad, are there various formats? You look at like a 30-second or shorter version also?
Yes. So again, that is part of the budget, Kamraj. For example, let's say the film is 70 lakhs. right from the beginning, the client says, hey, I want 4 edit versions. Ek
Okay.
60 seconder, ek 30, ek 20, and one 5 seconder, which will just come like a,
It just shows the product.
Just show the product, or, just a small 5 seconder. And so for each edit version is a cost. It's an added cost, because then the director's re-editing, rehashing. So each edit is a cost. So whatever his quotation is includes the edit versions.
You started your career almost in the 90s.
Yes.
And it's been a while. Things have changed.
Yeah.
A lot of digital involvement has come into this. How have you kind of adjusted, worked on, moved on? Because you're still relevant. You're still
Yeah.
doing things, and
Yeah.
probably 15 years from now also you'll say, okay, this will work, because you need to update yourself every day.
Absolutely.
So what goes on to that?
So, Kamal, I think our generation will perhaps be the only generation that has seen from
No
a
TV.
the maximum, change from we began from film to TV back in the days where there was only a Doordarshan. Then you got, 24-hour TV came in, the internet came in, digital came in, all of that, right? We've seen insane amount of change, and the way media is consumed right today. If you don't keep up to date with what is happening, how are things changing? So even digital, right? Even social media today, from the way it began to what it is today, because you need to understand, back when we began, the competition was on TV. Those that were doing ads on TV. Today, your competition is one Pakistani lady who's singing some song, or some guy saying, Kacha Badam, right? That piece of content is, every little piece of content is your competition.
Yes.
A consumer's mind, there are like 50 million options to him today, and everybody's fighting for a bit of that pie. So it's not just those who are making ads who are fighting for that. Everybody who's creating content is fighting for his mind.
So this is where you know about human emotions also, right?
Correct.
You understand what goes into what will click, what is the competition. Yeah. There's so many aspects to that which kind of creates a small film, a 30-second film, isn't it?
Yeah. So, one of the things I love to do, Kamlesh, sadly not that much today because I don't have the time, but one of the things I used to love to do, even till a few years ago, and whenever I get the chance, I do it today, is go and attend consumer researches. Yeah.
What is that?
A consumer research thing is always done from an advertising agent's point of view, where before we begin a project. Let's say you're doing something for a chai, tea brand. What makes the consumer, how does a consumer buy it? What are their preferences? How do they, from just the product going to a shop, how do they smell it? How do they touch it? Do they buy it in sealed packets? What is their behavior? So we conduct researches which are normally like focus group researches or, link researches, where
these are online forms or is in real?
No. Sometimes you have online, but these focus groups are normally with 8-9 people who are the target audience. Okay. Women, men, whoever, depending on what your product is. You get in 9-10 people, and it's amazing in that research what you will take out. Because very often kya hota hai, we sit in our ivory tower and thinking, this is what I will do for the ad. But it's of zero connection to your audience. And then you realize that, oh my God, actually my audience, and this happens every now and then when I sit with my juniors saying, never underestimate your consumer. You think they will not understand this? Bullshit. They will get it. Or the other way around. You think, of course, these guys should. No, they don't understand everything. Don't assume कि you just because you sitting in your ivory tower आपके लिए cool है. इसके मतलब ये नहीं कि it's cool for somebody else. And that can only come from attending researches, hand on the pulse of people. What is it that they love? What is it they like? What are they, really getting happy about? And I love to attend those because that feeds back into my scripts.
Super. When we watch a TV commercial, and today before we play any ad on YouTube, there's another small commercial which comes. Is it the same? Are you all using the same thing, or is it different now?
So those are basically like they're like we call them credit things. Basically, it's a small 5-second skippable ad, you could call it, right? Now there are 2 things. One is a skippable one which you have, and the other which is non-skippable. So the non-skippable one you have to watch. You can't skip it. You can't hit the skip button. The skippable one, obviously, you can skip it, and therefore it's less expensive.
Okay.
The non-skippable ones, the company needs, the brand needs to pay out.
You all are involved in that also?
Yeah. So
Okay.
we make everything. So like I said, this again comes back into your edit conversation that I was talking about.
Okay.
So if you have a 60-second, 30-second, 20-second, and for digital, I will have a 5-second skippable or non-skippable version. So it's part of the editing also. You need to edit that into that. Sometimes what we do is, because it's not easy to edit a 60 into a 5-second, obviously. Ye hoga hi nahi. Sometimes it's just because it's 5 seconds, it's just the brand. We actually then, during the shoot, just maybe shoot one little piece that's needed for a 10-seconder or a 15-seconder smaller format. We just shoot a little extra so we can use that as the 10-seconder or 5-seconder.
Going back to your theatre days to being in theatre right now, what is the most amazing role you are kind of acted as or played?
Oh, I think each one has
Its own special feel.
each one has its own. So I think there was a play called Beyond Therapy.
Okay,
It's
what was
comedy.
it about?
It's
Comedy.
a hilarious film, play. It was a comedy, and I was required to play the role of a gay lover. So, not being gay, but still being able to do that without being what we call camp, which is just like, it's very easy to put on this little, fake thing of being gay. It was tough. I didn't want to do that. So again, it required a lot of watching, viewing, without just trying to put on this.
Looking at other actors also.
Looking at other actors, Birdcage, many films, where you just notice little nuances. Does it have to be this overdone, which tends to happen a lot in our industry, overdone version of gay, and therefore makes it really, in that sense, almost vulgar, your approach, which cannot be. So for Beyond Therapy, I actually sat and watched a lot of stuff where it was way more subtle, the performance.
Your voice modulation all had to
voice
be
modulation, hand, movement, gesture, etc. Everything.
But generally, do you get typecast once a role is done?
No. Because that's a good thing. I think
About
I've done
theatre, that's a good thing.
Yeah, you've done so much of that. That tends to happen a lot in ads, in fact.
Okay.
You'll have one, especially, like, she's perfect for the Punjabi auntie.
Hmm.
So that's it. And then that person, for every ad that you do, you'll see her as the Punjabi auntie in the thing. I mean, Mama's okay, but within Mama also, it's really sad how in advertising we tend to really typecast people. No, usko Punjabi auntie ka role do. Oh no, make her the snooty South Bombay woman. It's just a typecast which is horrible, honestly. Even directors, we tend to do that.
But isn't that how society looks at people also? I mean, they expect that person to do, unless they have to break, as an actor, they have to break away from it. Since you're an actor, you have to break away from it. And it needs a lot of effort to probably change the way people think about you.
True. Very true. So there are two perspectives to this. One is from a way people view you. I will only look at X from the lens of this. And the reason why you are able to, if you make that effort to not just get typecast and do different roles, people will buy you in whatever role you do. Right? In whatever you are. It's not like they only have to be that. But people can only eat what they are fed. Okay. So if you feed them this one image of you, they will, and that really backfires on you later. So for example, even director. So a lot of my friends who are directors, for example, a particular director, you'll typecast him as the humor director. Okay. Only for humor you go to him. Or somebody is very brilliant at getting, raw emotion from a very India 2 lens, a very rural India lens, or a, Bharat lens emotion. And that actually the director is saying, yeah, mujhe bhi to gaadi ka commercial karna hai. I also want to do a, sexy car commercial, beautiful drone shots of cars, but nobody will give me. Why? Because I did 2 brilliant films on emotion. And now I've got stuck in that role. And any good, as a creative person, whether you're a director, whether you're a writer, whether you're an actor, you don't want to be set in one thing. You want to experiment with different genres. Of course, you'll be specialist at one particular kind of thing, and that's okay. You can be a specialist in a particular genre, but experiment with different ones. That's what keeps you as a creative person going also. Rather than get stuck in one thing.
So when people watch an ad, I will give you an example of that Cadbury ad where this girl comes, dancing. That got very popular almost in the 90s,
Yep.
I think so.
Yep.
So you being a CCO, you have to watch that particular emotion and you can get people to relate to in 2 seconds or 3 seconds. That's the thought, what goes behind it. Like to say, okay, this is the 3-second window which I have and people relate to that. Somebody smiling or crying, these emotions you have to watch, isn't it?
You can engineer some of what you're saying,
Mm.
in the sense that you try and work out a particular gesture or a particular action that you hope will become memorable. Can you guarantee it? No.
Okay.
Absolutely not. Because it's amazing what public actually latches onto, It could be one expression. It could be one something that they say. It could be anything. And people will remember it for that. You never designed it like that. You just did it.
It just happened.
And it just happens because people love it. And that's just, it makes me laugh sometimes. It's really laughable. When a client comes and says, I want something to be viralable. This isn't a formula. It needs to be viralable. It needs to be something that people will send out to everybody. How do I guarantee that? I can try and make it interesting. I can make it fresh, not something that you've seen before, something, separate from the category. Can I guarantee you every single person is going to send it to their brother or their cousin? No, I can't. I can't guarantee that. But I think it's become a bit of a joke when people, clients say, hey, give us something that is viralable. Nobody guarantees that. It's also, by the way, a large function, just in case a lot of people don't know. All the stuff, whether it's a meme you've seen or anything, a large part of it is also paid to get done. So how much of organic stuff actually goes out there? There's a lot of stuff. It's also about the money you pump in to get your stuff out. So viralable, there is no formula. But yes, there is little things you can do to engineer and hope that it catches on, an interesting expression, something that makes people laugh. Or when you bounce it off friends of yours, they're like, "Arey, ye to bahut acha hai." You get a sense of what it could happen with that piece.
So you don't know what would click at all. I mean, you have to take a chance and just keep innovating.
Yeah. And there's no formula, let me put it that way.
Okay. It's so relevant to what we are doing also, because we don't know what is the thing which
absolutely.
You've been, and you're doing stand-up comedy also, you've been doing it for a while. So what led you to explore stand-up comedy? You know that you are a funny guy, and I heard from friends how lovingly they call you Popo. So they said he's so humorous, and that you used it as way of as a performer also. So what is about stand-up comedy?
So I dial back to, this was I think maybe 2005, around then, when stand-up is not what it was today. It was still making initial roads in India.
We only knew about a Johnny Lever, or probably...
Yeah. And you would, in fact, sadly, most people would call it mimicry artist.
Yes.
Which was when John Lee would be called a mimicry artist, which is, it was quite a derogatory term actually. But, stand-up started making its presence felt, people started figuring it out. Thanks to the internet, we would watch Robin Williams and we'd watch different people and say, wow, this is really funny and it's hilarious. It's a new format. And people started getting excited about the format. So did I. I would see that and I would, laugh my head off and say, this is challenging. See, in a play, when there are like 8-9 people in a play, let's say a cast of 8-9 people, you're as a team. I come in, I'm doing my bit and I'm getting out. Together, we are making it happen as a team. There are 8-9 others backing you up. In case you forget something or do something, there are 9 other guys to help you pick it up from where you've dropped. In stand-up, you're all alone. You mess it up, God help you. And that is the challenge of stand-up comedy. You have nobody else trying to pick up.
Your profile is always different.
It's just you.
I know,
and
the profile
content.
of people who are watching you, hearing are always very different.
Correct. So that I used to wonder, I said, this is interesting because there's so many elements in a play. There's music and there's lights and there's, the set looks beautiful. 8-9 others are there to help you. It's not just your show. It's theirs as well. It's everybody's show. It's a production. That's why you call it a theatrical production. And people are excited and the audience is lapping it up saying, "Arey, bahut acha hai." In stand-up, it's you with one mic, standing up in front of, like I said, 50, 80 people, whatever, or even smaller. And that's it. It's you and your jokes. Either your jokes fail you or your jokes work, right? And people can be very cruel. They could really, I've seen people being booed off stage, and it's not fair, especially when you're in a bar kind of a setting, and people are already 5-6 pegs down and they're wondering, kaun aa gaya hai? It's disturbing our evening. So I was fascinated by this whole challenge, and that's when I started. It began with a very sweet friend of mine, Vikrant Pawar. He said, Rohit, will you do this? Do you think I said, I'd love to try. I've never done it. And I remember the very first stand-up I did for him back in those days. First thing, it was in a restaurant kind of a thing. We did it over there in Kolaba, and I actually rehearsed it because it was not like a just off the cuff kind of a thing. I rehearsed that piece that I had, and I went there and I did it almost like a theatrical piece, like a thing. And it was funny. I wrote it. I wrote the script. I kind of rehearsed it, and it was very successful. People loved it. People laughed like hell. But I myself said, no, I'm not sure. To me, I'm actually taking my same theatrical thing and doing it in a smaller thing with just me. So then I started actually going back to just putting points and expanding on them and just talking from what I want to talk about. Like you said, gift of the gab, etc. And that became, refining my own act slowly, that, you can't treat this like a theatrical piece, and it's a piece of theater. How different are you? You just have these gags in your head, you put them down as points, and then you just take off and you feed off an audience. And that's the spontaneity of the thing. You catch somebody who's doing something in the audience, you take off on him. Or somebody yells something, you actually catch that and take it and do something. And so bringing in that level of spontaneity was the next thing for me. Challenge.
So what kind of humor do you indulge in? I mean, what was the kind of set you used to create? And then, of course, you improvised. I mean, that was a skill you...
So observational comedy, like I said, I would, for example, I had this hilarious piece on food. It would talk about different kinds of things. And then it would be all about how certain, things that I've noticed, the way people order things, or the way people ask a waiter for something, or, things that have changed in India with our attitude towards it. So when I did that, people laughed their head off because they're like, yeah, this is exactly what happens. And that's the beauty of observational comedy, right? It holds up a mirror to you and you learn to laugh at something which you yourself have seen, you felt. And now that I'm acting it out for you and telling it to you in a piece of stand-up comedy, you're like, of course, yeah, this is exactly what happened to me also.
Being an actor, being an ad filmmaker, all this also adds to you as a stand-up comedian also, because you can improvise, you can think of, because that's what we see in a lot of stand-up acts, what we see. They take a lot of time to probably gauge the crowd, understand and figure it out. So I think as an actor, it helps you, isn't it?
Oh yeah. I think somewhere when you have your grounding in theatre, there's a certain confidence, there's a certain stage presence. There's a level of which you gauge your audience, what's working, what's not working. So all of those things help. But yeah, it's stand-up can be cruel. It can be really tough in terms of, making sure that your jokes are up there and you're able to make people laugh. Others, people can really toss you out very easily.
So here's a very personal question. I think as we age, you heard so much of comic thing, you heard trends, and I've seen in most of these corporate events where most of the senior guys don't laugh. They get very stiff. So, and the younger guys are ready to laugh at anything. Okay? So, is it so? I mean, this is a very personal question. So, what is it that, unless you have to be extremely relevant to that person, the comedy, because we have seen comedy fails happening. What is it like? What is that small speciality you need to have probably as a comic?
So, what happens in exactly what you said, Kamalaksh, when it's a corporate kind of event, I am, let's say, a president or an MD of a company or a CEO, right? I can't be seen going, ha, and slapping my head, because I've got, 200 juniors behind me, who'll say, "Arey, boss was full tight yesterday." I can't do that, right? So that's why maybe in the heart of hearts, the CEO wants to laugh his head off, but nahi kar sakte hai because there are 200 things. So I think that's the difference. Whereas the junior has no vested in kya jata hai. I'll laugh as hard as I want. Tomorrow I'll go and join another company if they throw me out. It's okay. So, that's the difference I think between the two. But I also have seen that, I think it's great today. Everybody is kind of letting their hair down. It's an evening where people are, it is comedy. So you come to a stand-up comedy act with the idea of laughing, right? So I think that itself helps you to ease. So for example, a play, you go to, but you may not know how to react to it, right? Respond to it. But a stand-up comedy act when you go for, you're going there to let your hair down and laugh, and it's okay to laugh loud. So I find that's changing a little. I think people are
that's getting better.
Yeah, it's getting better.
But it's helpful for the comedians.
It's a stand-up act. We're not coming here to sit like that. They themselves have realized that. And that's the talent of a good comic, a good stand-up comedian, that you actually start picking on people in the audience. So there's one guy who's like looking at his watch constantly. Koi to apna mobile phone pe hai. Grab him, make a little fun of him, let him laugh at himself. And that's the beauty of the game.
So, Rohit, any new projects, any new creative things which are coming up, which you're very excited about?
Oh, nothing. I'm right now involved in a play, which we've been running for some time. We do a few bunch of shows now in October. But the one that I do want to do eventually, who knows, when I have the time or whatever, will be, I'm fascinated by OTT and what's happening. And how it's become an interesting platform for so many aspiring writers, directors, etc. I hope there's something I can do one day on that.
Okay, that's what you're looking forward to.
I hope so.
We are waiting to watch it.
We can
we look forward.
We can do it out there. Yeah.
So, being a CEO of LNK, Saatchi and Saatchi, what is a typical day for you like, and how does your day begin? Where does it go? How do you kind of move on? Because I think every day has something in store for you, isn't it?
Yeah. So, that depends which part of the country I'm waking up in. I travel like a madman.
So that your work allows you to travel quite.
Makes me travel a lot. Once I was in Delhi and, client asked me, so are you a Mumbaite? Are you a Delhiite? Are the time you're here? Half the time you're in Bombay. So are you Mumbaite? Are you Delhiite? I said, no, I'm a Samsonite. Because I live out of a bloody suitcase. Morning I live out of this damn suitcase most of the time. But I like traveling. But sometimes it can take its toll on you also. But depends. If I'm in Bombay, typically my day begins quite early. I'm a reasonably good morning person. I have to have my coffee, which I love coffee. So I will make myself my own coffee on my drip machine and read the news. Most of my news is on my phone. I've given up watching news on TV because it's just become a natak. So I actually go through 4 or 5 different things on my phone. I'll, read up a bit about the news, have my coffee, shower, get dressed, have the breakfast and out to work. Don't get time to work out. At one time I used to. I don't look like it, of course. But there was a time when I used to try and do that. I don't get time to, which I will hopefully change this year. And then it's a regular day at work. I come in, I like to get into office early. Very, very clear. I'm one of those creative people, perhaps the rare creative people. But I don't know why we have this reputation that, you creative guys walk in whenever. Not true. I'm in office by like 9:45. 10.
A discipline
latest.
Is necessary.
I just like to come in when, not too many people. I sit and write down what my day, what I want to do during the day. I scribble it on a piece of paper. I keep it. I need to finish this today. And then it just starts, meetings, calls, brainstorm sessions. That's typically what your day is made of. Sometimes you leave office early because there's a recording to be done or there is something, an edit to be seen in. The good thing is that most of the edit studios and recording studios are in Khar near my house. So that saves me a little time. And by the time I get home, at whatever time, have dinner and watch. That's when my watching time begins typically. And normally, if I'm lucky, I'll be asleep by 12. Otherwise, it goes on till 2 in the morning, sitting and scripting,
And back to work at 9.
and back to work the next day. So yeah, that can be a bit grueling. I'm not proud of it, but that's the industry and that's how we work. I'm away till 1:30 in the morning, because that's when I am shant. I'm done with all the meetings. I'm done with all the things. Now it's just me and my craft and my pen and my paper, and that's when I can just focus.
So typically, what I know of a lot of actors and guys in the performing arts, they don't take a career path. So what led you to this career path? I mean,
You mean advertising?
advertising, yeah. Because
So I was very clear that I don't think theatre can be a full-time thing with me
exactly.
somehow,
Hmm.
and that's me. It's just a very personal thing. I wish that maybe I could have done, theatre doesn't pay. Let's be honest. That's
I
the
agree.
brutal, that's the truth. And can I, run a home and family and everything on what theatre gives you? Highly unlikely. I didn't have that luxury. I came from a very regular middle class family where getting a job fast and supporting my parents, which I did, was important. And theatre doesn't do that. So to me, the work came first, and the passion, like I told you, was always there for theatre, which can always be a side act. But in my head, it was very clear that it could never be the main act. But I think kids today have that beautiful, the luxury to do that. And I love it. I'm really happy for a lot of younger people today who are able to take theatre as a profession and do other little things to, but all within the performance space to keep their livelihood.
What kind of qualities do you look into anybody who wants to be a part of the team?
In office,
Yes.
so, couple of funny things. One is maybe it's a little different from what others do, but I look for an element of madness.
Yes. Crazy hona chahiye.
Yeah, thoda sa. I just think, I'm not saying you need to be a complete wacko, but I like people who come with an energy, who come with a certain level of madness, who don't come and sit in the corner. Although there are some very sweet people, granted, it's, who are quiet also. They're quiet workers. No offense meant. And I have a lot of them in office as well. But I really, I think a place needs to buzz with energy. So I like to have guys who are a little more, guys, girls, who have with a little more energy in them, little madness. I always look forward to that. I always look forward to people who have a interest in life. So whenever I interview people, I tell them, "Ye interview nahi, I just want to have a conversation with you. What else is there happening in your life besides advertising?" And it's such fun when you talk to people and then you realize they actually have interests that are much wider. And I'd like to know and have people who have interests outside of advertising. And the last thing I would, obviously talent. You look at people, their portfolio, their work, their passion for what they bring. There's a sense of what we in Saatchi call ownership. There are many people who come, they do the work and they go. Are they actually owning the brand? Treating it ki apne business ke jaise treat kare. That's something we are very, very particular about. And lastly, for me in this industry, the biggest thing you need to have is resilience.
Okay.
Today you are slapped, tomorrow you have to come back 10 times stronger. Today your script is torn and thrown into the bin, tomorrow you have to come back 3 times stronger. And that will happen in your life. So if you're the kind who's like, holding your head, I can't take this, I can't take failure, this is not the industry for you. Be very clear. It's hard, it's tough, it's whatever, but resilience is to me the biggest thing. Come back stronger, bigger each time and say, doesn't matter. I'll sell it to somebody else, or I'll come back with a stronger script. If you start, arey, chhod do, ya, isse kuch nahi hone wala hai, or, I can't take this, I'm leaving. This is not the business. It's a hard business. And the sooner you wake up to that, the better.
So what kind of people, what is the team size you usually have to run what you do?
It depends. For currently at Saatchi, we're like 100, just creative is like 170, 180 people across cities.
Okay.
Delhi will be about 23, 24. My Bombay team is again about 18, my team. So, it depends. If I were to take an all India thing, you're looking at about 130, 140 people.
There's usually, as you said, people think that the creative industry, people are not disciplined, they don't come on time. So what are other misconceptions people have about the creative guys?
Oh, you should hear some of them. Yeah, boy. It's really funny. Creative people are, smoked up half the time.
Yes.
Creative people are, will always be found at the nearest bar rather than working. They're
Harmonica, they are
irresponsible.
there.
They are, in their own dhun. All of this, all of the above. And, I'll never forget once I was, not me, sorry, a friend of mine he dresses really well. He's, well-dressed guy, usually. And creative guy. And we went for a meeting. He's wearing a shirt and trouser and whatever, And the client said, "Oh, you don't look creative."
You don't look?
Look creative.
Okay.
So I said, "Okay, what is a creative guy?" This poor chap was like, "What does that mean? I'm wearing a shirt. Look creative. Creative wala should be faded jeans, torn shirt, floral shirt. Thoda sa hona chahiye, So these hilarious misconceptions always make me laugh because I don't know how these things have developed, and we've, again, like I said, maybe culture has projected creative people in a particular way of madness and, abstractness and whatever. Not true entirely.
What is the kind of advice you'll give to somebody who's aspiring to be in the creative advertising field? For the young ones.
Ooh.
Is there a school for it?
No. So it depends. For example, if you are more inclined towards the art side of the thing. So if broadly, at least at a junior playing, you're either a writer or you're an art person, right? Okay. Later, when you get to a creative director level, that kind of becomes one. Then you're just a creative director and you need to know both sides of the field. So for the art guys, there are many great art institutes across the country where you can study art. You get your basics from there. And then you can branch into pure design, textile design. You can get into advertising, whatever. Depends, fashion. You can take many, many aspects of it depending on what your interest is. So the good thing about if you're an art person or inclined to an art skill, there are many institutes you can go to. For a writer, sadly, no. There's no formal writing thing at all. Micah has a writing course. Couple of other places, but that's about all. Otherwise, you just purely you're a person who has a skill for writing. You get into it somehow. Maybe do a copy test, or maybe somebody who gets you into the profession. But it's just based purely on your merit and how well you write, and it begins from there. And of course, if you're lucky and you're blessed, you will have a senior who will mold you and guide you and show you the ropes in advertising, and that's how you become a writer.
Being such a creative and talented person, when you go to a party, the expectation is high, na? Ki Rohit is come, masti hona hai, party shuru karna hai. Isn't that so?
I think I managed to skip that one. most of it, no pressure. But yeah, I'm saying it's because I am outgoing as a person and as a personality. So yeah, there's always
the expectation is there from people.
I don't know expectation, but certainly I think, for example, if there've been times when I've gone to a place, whatever, I'm a little quieter, maybe I'm tired or something, and then you'll be like, kya ho gaya? You're not your normal mad self, so that, kind of expectation, you're right. Yeah.
What do you love the most in your work? Everything you do, what is the most lovable thing for you? Ki maja aata hai ye karne. I think you in all aspects of creativity, and when it comes to stand-up or theatre, there's amount of creativity which goes into.
Yeah.
What is the thing that you love them?
I think they're different from an advertising aspect. I would say it's the like I was saying, what makes me get up every morning and go to work happily is the ability to do something new every day, something original and new every day. It could be a chota sa tent card. It could be a poster. It could be a hoarding. It could be a radio spot. But it gives me, I come home every day saying, today I did something new. Right? Instead
That's your life motto which you live by.
Yeah. It's something new you've done every day rather than the same old. It's something fresh and new that you've done every day. And if you treat it like that, that's half the battle won.
Wow. So many things. Rohit Malkani, the most lovable person I know of. It's been a pleasure having you on the show.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Rohit.
It's been pleasure too.
Pleasure.
All the best.
So many things which we got from you right now.
Yeah.
It's going to inspire people. We look forward to this.
And we look forward to the next
Who's on Air?
Who's on Air?
Who's on Air?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.